What's up, everybody? This is Kin, and welcome to my next podcast in the series that I'm making to help you guys learn English faster and to prepare for your IELTS test a lot more effectively. And the first topic for today is gap year. And if you guys don't know what a gap year is, I'm gonna just explain a little. So a gap year is where a high school graduate takes a year out to travel or to work. And there are various possible reasons for this, but chief among them is actually traveling and working, because many people just don't feel like continuing their education right away. They may feel like, well, I am not really sure what I am passionate about, so going to university right away is just a guesswork. I don't think that it's gonna work out, and they may choose to work to earn some experience, or they may try to travel to other places to learn about cultures and people there and how they do business, or what life in these places is like, and they may have a clearer idea of what they want in life. And of course, many people actually achieve something very significant when they take a year out, like when they work for a certain organization and they feel like, man, I am really keen on this kind of work, and they devote their entire time to working there. And thanks to their contributions and devotion, they may even get promoted to higher positions in some organization, which sounds really fulfilling, to say the least. Alright, but taking a year out is not without drawbacks. The most important of which is actually the cost involved in areas such as airfares, accommodation, and living expenses. Young people who haven't worked before, who had no savings, may have to depend on their families for this kind of money, or they have to borrow their friends to be paid later. So no matter what they choose, it presents them with financial challenges. We also need to factor in the fact that gap years take a young person's focus away from studying because they choose to work or travel. So some of them may even end up not returning to school at all. And the worst case scenario is that they may not even choose to do those very productive things like traveling or working. They may end up doing very unhelpful things such as playing computer games or going to parties. It's not really uncommon to see young people doing these activities. And finally, I also think that there's a concern over the safety of young people who choose to take a gap year to work or to travel, because when they work, there's a risk that they may run into some accident, or when they travel, there's a good chance that they may be robbed, or they may be mugged, or even kidnapped in the place they travel to. But I believe that if they plan carefully, all the risks can be minimized. For example, if they plan ahead, they just need to save up before they decide to take a gap year, and the money needed for their trip is not a problem anymore. And if they choose to work, they just need to find a good place to work. And furthermore, an undergraduate who has taken a year out to earn money or to see the world is far more likely to be committed to his or her studies, because they may come to realization that it's a privilege to go to university, because when they travel, they may realize that people in many countries, even though they want to acquire higher education, do not have the chance to actually do so. But now that they are presented with a very good opportunity, chances are that they may try to take full advantage of it, which can only be seen as a positive development. On a final note, I also think that those who decide to take a year out are less likely to end up studying what they don't like and dropping out as a result. And this is obviously really positive. Alright, so let's move on to the next topic, which is about unemployment among teenagers and young people. It is true that young unemployment is a worrying challenge for most countries these days because if young people do not have a job, there's a good chance that they may be prone to criminal activity, which threatens the stability of society and of course the economy as well, because since they don't have a job, they have to depend on other people and they don't pay taxes, which means that the government receives less money, but a sizable proportion of its budget has to go to ensuring the well-being of these individuals. But do you think that this problem is the biggest challenge to school leavers in countries in the world? I personally think that to say that this is the largest issue is to overlook a range of equally pressing matters. Perhaps the most important problem right now is actually the increase in longevity. This seemingly positive trend puts a tremendous burden on young people because they will need to pay higher taxes and work longer hours. Because of this, many young people actually try to flee their country to avoid, paying that much taxes. And we can see this trend in countries with older populations such as Japan or Germany and Italy. And by the way, we should not ignore the fact that the world is in a constant state of flux, which means that it is changing and there are so many threats posed to young people and older people such as famines, drought, and outbreaks of diseases. And recently we see the outbreak of the COVID-19, and it is threatening lives of thousands of people in the world, including young peoples. And recently, WHO actually declared that COVID-19 has become a global pandemic, which is a very serious problem. This coronavirus actually brings in its wake financial losses. Companies are shutting down and schools are being closed. So, these events are surely leading to economic losses and loss of jobs as well. Another existential threat is the presence of nuclear weapons, which can wipe us out. And according to scientists, it only takes 100 nuclear bombs to create a nuclear winter, which also leads to the drop of temperatures and consequently extinctions of all animals and lives on Earth, including our own. But do you know how many nuclear bombs are there in the world? There are actually over 3,000 nuclear bombs in the world. And if a country is willing to use nuclear weapons in warfare, I believe that it is close to the end of the world. And when we factor this into the equation, the problem of unemployment among youth seems to pale in comparison with the impact of nuclear weapons or outbreaks of diseases. So at the end of the day, if you don't have a job, you may still survive. But if there's a war or a super virus, you might as well die. Well, alright, so that's it for my podcast today. Hopefully you guys have learned some interesting ideas and vocabulary. I really am sorry that I can't add some subtitles in my videos or in my podcasts because I am no tech savvy. I just know very little about video making And well, I'm sorry for that, and I don't have much time to add the subtitle in my video. This podcast or this series is created entirely for you guys to just listen. And if you guys are dedicated enough, you may try to take notes and try to practice, and that's all I hope for. Cool, so that's it for today, and see you guys in my next podcast.